You ready to talk to some people?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, cool. Let's do it. I think the name here is Mace Dog. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This is Mace Dog calling in from Kentucky. Mace Dog, how you doing?
How you doing? I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good, good. So I see that you want to talk to us about people who claim to talk to ghosts on the radios, and I'm not sure what you mean.
Uh,
Tell me about that.
well, do you see like YouTubers like claim like for well I don't want to say their names, but do you hear like YouTubers claim that they talk to like a dead souls who like a person who have died through like radios and like they claim, but I don't believe it, but they claim that they do.
Now listen, Mace Dog, I'll have you know, I pride myself from knowing about the weirdest, most obscure stuff out there, but I have to admit, this is new to me. I don't know about people who talk to the dead through radios. Maybe I saw that in like a movie once, but I didn't know like that was an active thing. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm sorry for interrupting you if I did, but
Oh, of course, go
have you
ahead.
guys I don't know if I want to bring the YouTubers up because,
You don't have
well,
to say any
am I allowed to
names.
do that or no?
If you can avoid it, I would say go ahead and avoid it. But like, but definitely, if you have like an example of a situation, can you at least describe what they're doing?
Yeah, they have a laptop and they're actually able to mimicize like a voice. Like they're actually able to like voice levels. Like I don't know, it's confusing because I watch like I'm on YouTube a lot and I watch like
Mhm.
these YouTubers. They have these like orbs, spiritual things on the ceilings. Like they, I don't know. It's weird. Like they, like this one YouTuber, he's talked to like dead celebrities. Like I don't know, like people like Ted Bundy, people like serial. He's talked to a lot, like serial killers who have died, celebrities,
Mhm.
just people who have died that have been in news. And I don't know, like I don't think I feel like that they're doing like they're dishonoring. I feel like they're lying about that when they're trying. I feel like they're trying to get people's attention and people to believe that stuff, and
Absolutely.
that might not be the case.
Absolutely. Mace Dog, I don't know your feelings on it. You sound like you're kind of convinced, maybe you're a little bit conflicted, but let me tell you, I'm 100% convinced that they are lying. Okay. I have no doubts in my mind. Here's the reason why. Psychic phenomenon is nothing new. It's literally as old as the Bible and it's older than that, right? People have been saying that they've been able to contact the dead for as long as like human culture has been a thing. And it's never been proven in any reliable circumstances whatsoever, right? And people saying, "Oh, but this person talked to me, talked to my grandma when I went to this theater show one time." Like that's not good evidence, right? That's not how we should examine this kind of phenomenon. And it's very interesting if
That
they're talking about communicating through radio waves or other things, because that means that they have specific methods in which they do it. And if they have specific methods in which they do it, then that means we can observe those methods and see what's true and what's not true. I remember this being a
that's
thing
right.
whenever Jay Station was a YouTuber, and I'm just name dropping here because this is a thing that happened, right? And this was like in the news. His
Oh, of
like
course, of course.
his girlfriend allegedly died, right? That was the story. And then like they claimed to do a summoning of his girlfriend, like literally like 24 hours after those news drops. And of course, it was found out his girlfriend wasn't
Hmm.
dead, right? He was just getting attention, right? And that's what they're all doing. And I know it's like, oh, but you haven't explicitly seen evidence one way or the other. You don't have to. You really don't. You just have to establish, okay, what would be the possible method for them doing that, and can they demonstrate that? Because if there is a method and it's accessible to them and it can be observed, obviously it can be if they're putting it on YouTube, then something is up there, right? But anyway, go ahead, Mace. You sound like you had something you want to say to that.
Well, and you know what? You know what's strange about that too? I mean, I didn't put religion as my question. See, because well, I'm more of an agnostic atheist, even though those are two things. Like, I don't believe in God and I don't believe in
Sure.
souls, but like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I have
Something.
doubt, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, maybe, should I have doubt for the
Well,
atheist part, or should I have doubt for the agnostic part?
all right, Car. I feel like I'm talking so much in this conversation here, but I am interested in this. Maybe it's like break it down for me, right? Like what doubts do you have that makes you think, well, maybe there's like an afterlife or some of this other stuff? Like tell me your reasons there.
Well, that example, can I give you one example from this one video that I was watching, but I exited out of it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you can describe the example, I'd love to hear it.
Well, do you know Brian Petito and hold on, Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie? My bad, I mixed them up. Duh.
I think
But
that name sounds familiar, but you'll have to be more specific. I don't know.
Well, this guy was I guess the person who was specifically talking to the soul. I guess he was saying he was talking to Gabby Petito, which is probably not the truth. And when I guess Brian Laundrie killed her and stuff, he shot himself in the head. And I don't know what month this was. I mean, I don't know. I think Gabby Petito died in January or March, maybe. I don't know. But I think one of the souls, like the radio, the guy asked the question, "Is Brian Laundrie dead?"
Mm-hmm.
And you know what the radio said?
I'm assuming it said yes. Okay. And
Yeah.
and you're saying and I'm not familiar with this story. I thought I wasn't. But and then you're saying it wasn't public knowledge at the time that this person was dead?
No, not the person that was talking to the soul. The Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. It was all over the news.
Well, I guess I'm confused. So it was all over the news that this person. Sorry, that you mentioned a lot of names here. I'm trying to keep track of your story. There's a YouTuber.
Yes.
Who said they were contacting these people, and they asked them if they were dead, and they said yes. Allegedly.
No, the YouTuber asked. No, the YouTuber asked one of the person if he was dead, because that Brian Laundrie, he killed Gabby Petito.
Okay.
And
so
the radio, I guess, the radio said that yes, he was dead.
But it wasn't. Was it known that he was dead at the time? That's what I'm wondering.
No, and that's the thing. Like he was on the run. They didn't know if he was dead or not.
Okay. So that explains it a bit more. So it's a missing persons case, is what it was.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's a missing persons case, and this YouTuber is talking to this radio or whatever's going on, and allegedly the radio said that this person was dead. That's the story, right?
Yes, sir. And I tell you what, I don't believe it, but he is dead.
Okay. Well, I've been talking for a bit now. I'm gonna let Cara talk, and then we'll continue this conversation. Go ahead, Cara.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I'm
you.
glad we got that. Yeah, no, yeah, I want to talk more to your question, Masedog. Yeah, I think we've kind of gotten to the bottom of it. So, what I'm understanding is that after seeing this show, you noticed that this person who was claiming to talk to dead people on the radio asked a question and got the correct answer, and so that made you wonder, well, is there something to this? Since he got the correct answer. And I can see why, that is meant to be convincing. That is the gimmick, I would say. I'll tell you the reason that I would not be convinced by that is that this is a tactic that is used a lot of times by people who are claiming to be psychics or mediums, is that they will give correct answers to things. They'll guess things that they're very likely to be right about. So this was a yes or no question, right? Is this person dead? Yes or no? We know that this person is missing. They've been involved in something. Chances are they may be dead. So they have at least a 50-50 chance of getting this right. And so he said yes and was right. Well, anyone could have guessed yes and got it right. It's not like he guessed his social security number or something like that, which also you could have gotten that on the internet. But If they had, on the other hand, guessed wrong and said, "No, he's not dead," I bet you anything next week that person would be back on radio saying, "Well, at the time that I answered the question, he wasn't dead yet, but he is now, and I know that because now my ghost friend on the radio has corrected me and given me more information," and then he's gonna make another guess. And if he's
Yeah,
wrong,
true.
it
You're
doesn't really
right about
impress
that.
anybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. And
So
if
a lot of times they
Yeah.
will go out on a limb and make these guesses because if they're right, it's amazing to people. Oh my goodness, they got it right. They must be speaking to the dead or whatever. But if they get it wrong, oh, it's no big deal. They just explain it away.
Yep. And another thing too
That's
is it
right.
sounds like that this is a person that was publicly in the news, and there was probably speculation as to their whereabouts and whether or not they were alive, right? And so, I mean, the sad fact is, I don't know the exact statistics, but plenty of missing persons end up staying missing, or they are unfortunately dead, and that's just the reality for a lot of missing person cases. So it may not even be a
That's
50-50,
true.
right? It's probably going to be even more likely that one of those outcomes is either they stay missing or that they've passed away, right? Especially after a certain period of time as passed away too, right? Like I'm sure the likelihood of them being dead is going to be more likely the longer that they stay missing, right? So by the time this person is probably talking
Mhm.
about this, it's probably accepted amongst people, even if it's not officially called yet, that this person has died. And so it's just a numbers game, right? So you can see how psychics
Yeah.
and these people they use this to their advantage, right? And they use human intuition against them, as Carl was saying, by talking about things that seem like they're really good guesses, but if you really stop to think about it, it's actually not as impressive as you might think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, you guys are 100% right on what you're saying. I mean, because
Mhm.
yeah, that does sound true. It really does.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I would ask too, if this person is claiming to have this ability to learn information like that from the dead or from the other world or dimension or whatever it is, why is it that they can't ever get any really useful information that
Yep.
we don't get from any other source? Why don't they
Yep.
have the winning lottery numbers
Yep.
or the address to the place where, the missing person is being held, or something like that wouldn't otherwise be available. It seems
Sure.
like we never get that information.
Yep.
We
Mace Dog, I haven't seen the video you're talking about, but I guarantee they didn't tell you where that person was. They probably didn't say how they died, or if they did, they were very vague about it. Critical details that would help with any investigation, right? If you're on a police force and you know that there's a psychic I mean, they literally made a TV show about it, right? Like you're gonna hire that person because yeah, you're gonna find all the missing people, but it never turns out to be the case because it's always theater, right? It's always a show, it's a performance. It's never actually
Oh, that's
tangible,
sorry
you
about
know?
that.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mace Dog.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. My bad. But actually, can you repeat the last thing what you said about they probably don't know what you just said? Like you said something about not knowing if the person's dead or not because Brian Laundrie actually is dead. It was all over the news. He shot himself in the
Mhm.
head.
Mhm.
Well, the point I was just making, right, is that if let's say you have access to a person who has died, right, and you're talking to that person,
Mhm.
like the first thing you can demonstrably prove that you're actually talking to this person, you know what you're talking about, is you can talk about exactly how this person died, what address they're at, where they were going, who they were talking to that day, and you should be able to follow up on that and be able to demonstrate,
Mhm.
okay, this is true, this is true, this is true. Psychics will never do that. They never have, and they never will. And if they do, they have always been shown to be wrong, right? Because how
Yeah.
useful would that be in an investigation if you could just talk to somebody and figure out, okay, we can find where this missing person is and get all the details, right? But it doesn't happen. It hasn't shown to be reliable. There's actually been real life police forces that have had psychics as contacts, by the way, and have tried this, and it doesn't work,
It
right?
never works.
Yeah,
There are psychics that claim things like, "Oh, I worked for a police department to help solve mysteries." Go double check that information with the police department, and you're gonna hear a different story about
yeah,
how
yeah. They may
that
give
case got
unsolicited
solved.
advice, right? Like that's often how it is. But does that make
Yeah.
sense, Mace Dog?
It's like Yeah, it does, and it's kind of like, and also it's isn't it kind of like a false belief? Like, aren't they lying about some? Isn't lying like a false belief thing? Like, aren't they like lying when they're doing that stuff?
It's complicated. There are some people who definitely think that they have real powers, right? And definitely think
Yeah,
that they're actually helping people. So I have to assume that there's
I don't
a
have it,
portion of
so
that can be right. Like, well, look, delusion is a thing, right? I mean, how many Christians say that they can talk to God and prophesize and do that too, right?
a lot,
So like,
a lot.
and who are sincere, and many who are sincere about it, I would argue. I definitely knew people in my community who were very sincere Christians who said that they received some kind of message from God. I mean, even I've interpreted things as signs from God before. I've never actually talked to the guy, but I interpret it that way, right? So
Yeah.
there's definitely a portion that are like
Yeah,
that, but 100%, as cynical as it sounds and as unbelievable as it sounds, there are people who are absolutely just in it for the money, absolutely do not care. And the reason I know that is because there's also testimonials from people who said they were psychics for a while or said that they've done these tricks for a while and admitted that it was a con. Obviously it's not as common because there are people who still want to keep the con up, right? But it is there. So it goes both ways.
yeah, it does. It
Mm.
absolutely does. And not the religion thing. I think these guys are Christians too, because I mean they do have a lot of.
Well,
I'm not trying to bring them down on their religion or anything. Like all I ask is that you don't lie about something that's really sad and depressing about a person
mhm.
dying, because that's too much.
I agree, and
You know what I
it's
mean?
weird because the Old Testament forbids divination, so you're not even supposed to be doing that, along with
What's
witchcraft and
it
other
called
things.
again? What did you
Divination,
say it was called? The Old Testament?
the Old Testament of the Bible. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Anyway, Mace Dog, oh, we do have some other people that we need to talk to, but I hope that we were able to clear things up for you.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but hey, look, you can call in next week. Call in some other time, and we'd
Can you,
love to talk to you more.
that's
Okay?
fine. Can you tell me your names? Because I know Karina.
Yeah, yeah. That's Cara, and I'm Objectively Dan, and this is Truth Wanted.
I love
So if you're
Dan. You're
ever,
awesome. I see your videos all the time, and I love them. I love them.
I appreciate that. That's really kind of you. Thanks, Space Dog, and
No,
thank you for calling in too. If you sounds like there's some other topics we could definitely talk about. So I'd appreciate if you call in next time, and we'll talk to you some more then. Okay? But until then, thanks again for the call. That was interesting. What did you think of that, Cara?
Yeah, that was fun. That was an interesting call.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to talk about that because, they brought up some good points about, being an agnostic atheist and what does that mean? And,
Yeah.
can you be one and not the other? And
Right. We didn't even get into that.
no, we didn't, but
But isn't it interesting how little bits of evidence, of anecdotal evidence that you see can just convince you and be
yeah.
stuck. I mean, it's the same thing for me, right? Like I used to think
Oh, yeah.
maybe ghosts were low key real because of like the stuff I saw on like ghost hunters and stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
but
convincing, especially if you've kind of been taught this model of thinking in which if you can't explain something, then that must mean it's supernatural
mhm,
rather than just that something happened that I don't know about. So it's very easy to then jump to that conclusion all the time that well it must be ghosts. What else could it be?
right,
I don't know.
right.
When in
He
fact, we should get a little more comfortable just not knowing things sometimes.
Yeah, human beings can be very susceptible to these things, I think.
Absolutely.
Takes a lot of training and like education to like really get that out of you, right?
It
Like,
does, and
yeah,
to be fair, a lot of the people who are good at doing things, like, pretending to be a psychic or a medium, they're using psychology against people. They know the cognitive biases that we have, and they know how to exploit them in order to convince people of things that are not true. Like, I really love the late James Randi, used to, do a lot of takedowns of things like that. He used to be a magician and then, basically turned into a critical thinker and or he may have always been a critical thinker, but turned
mhm,
into kind of a promoter of critical thinking and would demonstrate all of the tips and tricks that people can use to
yeah,
fool people and convince your brain, that you're seeing something you're not.
for
So
sure. for sure.
Yeah,
And
it's not stupid if you get tricked by it. It's,
no,
you may have
no, it's
been taken advantage of, some just natural human tendencies in the way our brains work.
yeah, absolutely. Especially people who are like super dedicated to the con, right? Like that's what makes it even
Yeah.
more convincing because it's like, oh, you've made a whole career off this. How could you be wrong? Right?
Yeah, why would you
Um,
possibly do that?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.